I personally believe the key to landing more B2B appointments this year in 2020, with all the craziness we have going on with the pandemic, racial tension, political uneasiness, with all of that and natural disasters, the key is being vulnerable. I'm going to explain to you why, and I'm going to explain to you how you can go about doing so. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode today, we're going to talk about the key to landing more appointments, more B2B sales appointment this year than ever is to be vulnerable. How this is going to work, I'm going to share with you. And also, it's not just with appointments. I feel the concept also apply with you getting more deals, how you can land more of those opportunities and how you can continue to thrive and how you can continue to succeed. But before we dive into all that fun stuff, I want to make sure you guys are aware of a couple things. One, this stuff, like any other episode, is going to require you to do something. It's going to require you to do things that are uncomfortable if you really want to try, if you really want to succeed, if you really want to get more appointments. And I'm telling you this because I'm coming from experience, someone who has practiced this and someone who has seen others practice it, and the difference it makes in the conversation and how it's able to help you to progress, not only with the relationship with those individuals, but your deals, how they can progress and move forward because of the fact that you're being vulnerable. I'll explain what that means. If you're watching this video for the very first time, any of our videos, I ask you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to our team because now they'll know that, hey, somebody else is listening to this besides me and my mom and my cousin. My cousin doesn't really listen, they just subscribe. But the point is, there are more people listening to it than we first thought. The other thing that I want to make sure you are aware of is if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts as well, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. On YouTube, hit the chime button so you can be notified whenever we produce a great episode. So now let's start from the top. Let's go ahead and break this down. Why do I feel this is so critical? I'll tell you a story and then I'll come back and tie this all together in a nice, pretty bow. I reached out to a friend of mine. He's a guy that was actually on our podcast recently. And just like in the pandemic right now, we're October, we're September still. Just had mid-September, September 15th tomorrow. So you're listening to this episode later, but mid-September is when I'm recording this particular episode. But I reached out to this gentleman and just started dialogue. I asked him a question, how he was doing in the family, because I was curious to find out what's going on. In some way, it was a part of the superficial part too, where you just ask everybody. But in some way, I did want to know how he was doing. He was doing some little entrepreneurial stuff as well. This guy came back, and like a day later, and the answer was much longer than typical. Some people, you just hear that those 3-4 sentences or 2 sentences. Things are going well. Family's going well during these crazy times. How are you? But for him, he went further and he explained. He told me like, it's actually going crazy. It's not going so great. And then he went in to explain. And at first, my first thought was like, say what now? It's not going great. What? Like, I know it's not going great for everybody, but nobody ever says it's not going great like this. To go elaborate. So he went in and started talking about the situation with his work and how that was a challenge, how he was laid off. He then went ahead and talked about some of the things that he was trying to do, like with his book and then also with his family, and how his wife was taken care of, doing, helping out with a little bit more with the kids at their schooling, because typically, obviously, parents help with kids, but now she's being a teacher, and luckily she did some teaching before, so that wasn't too crazy, some homeschooling, so that became a little bit easier for them. Then he went in to talk about how he's trying to launch a book and the challenges that he's facing with that, and how he's also part of the National Guard. And with the National Guard, what was going on and how this was his employer was now being favorable, the new employer, and being helpful with that. It was crazy. Now, what happened in my mind? What do you think happened? When he did all of that, I was able to then connect with him on a human level now. It wasn't just like, yeah, things are going great, family's doing well, and then bye. It was, now what do I need to say? Do you think I was going to say a little frivolous answer like, okay, great, well, wish everything goes well, keep in touch? I had a dialogue with him. I had a conversation with him. Now, this is going to probably open doors for opportunities for me to look for ways to help him, because I know there's a friend or brother that's in need that I could be able to help out. You know what I mean? And now so beyond the fact that, now there's somebody I can help out, but it was just on a human level. Now, the second part is now my reply to him. I can't, I'm definitely not going to go back in and go say, no, yeah, it's going fine, it's going great. No, I'm going back in, and I need to be real with him, because he set the bar at a level where he was real. And I could tell him about some of the challenges that we're facing and some of the opportunities that we have and some of the good things that are coming from this. There's a lot, but there are also some challenges that I could be real with him about. That is vulnerable. That is putting yourself out there. And that's what I mean when I say vulnerable in 2020. It's not necessarily this is not vulnerable. Let me give you an example that's not vulnerable when it comes to B2B sales. Some people might think, well, if I told a prospect that, I need this deal or I might lose a job, that's desperate. And you're not putting that type of pressure on a prospect. Get out of here with that mess, man. You don't want to do that. Or if you say, I want to do this so I can win a TV. Listen, I'm trying to make sure my lights stay on, and you're over here talking about TV, winning a TV. Like, come on, bro. No, that's not cool. Those are things of desperation, not things of vulnerability. Let me give you an example of what I envision with vulnerability. Actually, I'm going to give you that in a second, but let's come back to tie in why it works so well. In sales, I think we have this posturing, and in life, and especially as Americans, we have this posturing that we have to do. The prospect have to posture up and show the buyer, show the sales rep that, listen, I've been on this path before. You're not going to come in here and try to show me and demo and then all of a sudden sell me something. I know what you're trying to do. And then the sales rep is like, all right, I need to go in there and try to be like, big old professional company and be as thoughtful and forward as possible with using my big words and my buzzwords, because if I can posture myself as a really industry expert salesperson, then all of a sudden the buyer is going to put their guard down and buy. And you have these two people that are like two peacocks posturing, and that doesn't make that human connection. Go back to our episodes in the past, or go back to life. As human beings, we like to connect with other human beings. We're social creatures. So the area when we can really fine tune and have that dialogue, the quicker we can get to that point where we have vulnerability and we can have dialogue, magic starts to happen. That's what happened in my conversation with my friend. We didn't have to posture. The quicker we got to this point, now we're having a meaningful dialogue. In some sales situation, you're posturing for that first couple meetings, and then you finally get down to the situation, or the first 2 hours before you finally get down into the real meat and the issue. We don't want to waste our time with stuff like that. We want to make sure we can help individuals. So in this case, when you're dealing with your prospect, the first thing I want you to do is to be vulnerable. Let's say you land the appointment. Let's say you grab their attention. One of the things that I used on LinkedIn recently in my verbiage to a prospect, I just told them, listen, I'm not sending you one of those cheesy LinkedIn messages. I'm just going to be real. It's not about the mutual connections that we have. It's not about the fact that we're in the industry. I'm like, I saw that you're a sales leader. 90% of our clients are sales leader. And plus, you're right in my own backyard. Figured it'll be great to be a part of your network. Permission to connect. That type of dialogue is now, it's not like saying it's just being a little bit more vulnerable, saying, let's get real. Let me just get real. I'm not going to send you the cheesy stuff, but I want to just get real with you. I want to keep it real. This is the reason why. I'm vulnerable in that situation. Now, they might not say yes, but in my replies that I'm seeing is that it increases significantly, that more and more people are actually responding favorable and are actually connecting with me quicker. Go figure. Vulnerability. Let's say you did get the appointment. I did connect with the prospect, and now we're having an initial conversation. If I'm on a phone with you and I'm talking to you, let's say I don't have the initial appointment yet. I'm trying to land the appointment. That's the whole point of this podcast episode, right? But I called you and I connected with you and I told you about us connected on LinkedIn, and then you start to say, well, you do your little rapport building at the very beginning. They're like, how are you? Now in that scenario, you need to be vulnerable. You can say, the company is doing well beyond this, and fortunately, I'm not in a situation where I'm out of a job or my family is in a desperate need. But I'm telling you though, it's hard. I don't get a chance to interact with my coworkers, and the only people that I have is my dog sitting here next to me all day long, and all she wants to do is go around for walks. It's not the easiest person to have a dialogue with. Now, how about you? Now, the likelihood of that person coming back and saying something like, well, things are going perfect and going great is slim. That person might come back and tell you the truth. They might say, yeah, I know what you mean. I got these cats running around the house and that's all that I have. And my kids, we're figuring out how to teach from home and so forth. You're having a dialogue like that at the very beginning of the conversation. That's the kind of rapport building you're building. What do you think is going to happen when you start having dialogue now about the problem that they may be having? The reason why you're calling in the first place, the reason why you're reaching out, it's going to make a huge difference. I promise you, that person is more than likely going to agree to landing an appointment so you can show them more. Way more so than the person that you just call and just have this frivolous conversation with. Hi, we're with so-and-so and we help companies grow. We'd love to set up an appointment. I don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. But a person that can connect with you and you have a dialogue with, you say, point of reference, hey, we connected on LinkedIn. Oh, yeah. Well, how can I help you? Well, talk to them. Maybe you ask the question, initiate it. How are you doing today? Well, I'm doing well. They'll probably tell you. You tell them, how are you doing? Might ask that as you're connecting on that initial rapport building. Well, it's not going so great. And you explain to them why. Honestly, at that point, they're going to be intrigued. They're going to say, well, what's not going so great? That is going to make a difference in your dialogue. That's going to make a difference in your conversation. And it's going to help to leverage you to be able to have meaningful dialogue with this individual. They'll put down their guard. The posturing whole scenario will die down and you will land more appointments. And ultimately, if you continue that throughout your conversations, sometimes telling people, you know what, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I can talk to our tech team. Is that okay? And I ask you, will this solve our problem exactly? Based on what you're trying to ask, you're trying to do, and what we do, it is not going to work. Just being straight up with you. That's vulnerable. How I see us working together is by doing this. That's different. You're being honest, you're being straightforward, and you're being vulnerable. Those things work. This is what I feel will help you. This is the whole point of this conversation, the whole point of this episode. So what can you take away from this? I need you all to leave and to be vulnerable. I need you to look for opportunities in your initial conversation to let somebody know that you're here as a human and you really want to connect and you have problems just like they do and you want to help them solve theirs. If you do this, you're going to be successful. As always, I share stuff like this because I want you to succeed. If you're watching this for the first time, again, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you're listening to us for the first time, hit subscribe as well. I truly appreciate it. If you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly. And why don't you be vulnerable with me as well? As always, we share stuff like this because we want you to succeed. I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to be able to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to be able to close more deals. But most importantly, I want to challenge you each and every single day to go out and do big things. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up in the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.